Hey, everybody. Thank you very much once again for swinging by, hanging out, hiding from your boss, working out in the gym, driving in the car, whatever it is you're doing, mowing the lawn, planting flowers, whatever it is you're doing. We appreciate you listening. Welcome to Todd-Bits. I'm really excited about our show today. I got a very interesting guy with a very interesting product that's out here today that attracted my interest instantly when I reached out to me. And I'm all in listening to what they have to say and what they're doing. I think it's incredibly cool. Please, everybody, give it up for my friend Jim Kurtz, Senior Farm Consultant with Harvest Harmonics. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's absolutely my pleasure to be here. And we chatted a little bit offline before we got going. And, what you guys are doing, I think it's just incredibly cool. We're going to dive deep into it. But, I was sharing with you that, in my past tenure, especially early on in the organic movement, way back in the late 80s, early 90s, I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. I've seen some pretty cool stuff out there, people trying different stuff. I've shared with you about these guys that came out one day with what they called karma cards. And they were these pieces of metal with these, geometric shapes on it with a bunch of Egyptian hieroglyphics. And they were small, like playing, a little bigger than playing cards, and they put them at the end of, we said, sure, let's try it. They put them at the end of every row. It was just supposed to make better karma for the plants. And I know a guy down in Florida used to play the pan flute to his tomatoes and doing different stuff. And you guys, you're not that far out there, but I tell you, what you guys are doing, I think is so cool and so unique. And I think it's just, this conversation is going to blow people away. So I just wanted to just preface all that stuff because I'm excited about this chat today. Before we get into all this, tell everybody who you are. If you wouldn't mind, and give everybody a quick little bio and journey. That way they can see what we're going to.
Yeah, no problem. Well, now that I've been labeled as the tinfoil hat guy.
Oh, hey, wait, hold on. Yeah, don't worry. Hey,
like Hollywood, right?
There
you go. He's got one. He's got the tinfoil hat.
Yeah, NASA. I had NASA on here, and we had tinfoil hats on. So yeah, I'm all prepared.
No problem. Well, thank you again. My name is Jim Kurtz. I grew up in California. Actually, I grew up in Sacramento, and I was really into a variety of different things. I went to college as an electrical engineering major. Decided that wasn't the path I wanted to take, so I started studying philosophy and finished a master's degree there at San Diego State. And I had started working, as you can imagine, with philosophy not being the most lucrative of professions or majors you could have chosen.
Well, you could at least analyze a table.
Yeah, there you go. What is this thing made of?
What is this made of?
But my stepdad, who was working for Cisco Food Service at the time, got me into the agriculture business on the selling side of it for restaurants and institutions. And spent 6-7 years there and bounced around a little bit. And really, my involvement with this company, Harvest Harmonics, started. I met the CEO, Frank Arlia, at a networking meeting, and I had just was a part of a marketing company that fell apart, that basically went out of business. And so I raised my hand, saying, "Hey, anybody needs sales and marketing help? I can help you."
Sure.
And when Frank showed me what we had then, which was still in the research and development phase, I really looked at this and said, this is something that. Yes, it's a little out there. It's a little out of the norm or out of the wheelhouse of what traditional agriculture is all about. But I really saw the potential for this to completely transform agriculture in a positive way that not only helps, it not only helps everything from the, government side or the side of sustainability and environment and organics, but it really also, it does it in a way that helps farmers make more money, actually more money than they're doing with conventional practices. Saving on their input costs, reducing petrochemical use, improving the environment. And I thought, if this thing is as good as it already looked at the time, and we can really get this out there, then this is my legacy for my kids and my kids' kids and the future generations of really helping improve the world of agriculture, which of course is the backbone of all civilization. So I had to jump in and I've been working ever since.
I got to tell you, we're going to get, like I said, deeper in the weeds on this literally, but we're going to talk today about Plant Boost Technology and what it is and what you guys are about and the process that you've created, how it works, why it works, the results of why it's fascinating, it's unbelievable, and it's incredibly cool. So, I'm gonna throw another thank you for being here, making the time, and I'm glad that you all connected with me and we got this conversation started, and you've got me hooked on this conversation. So. I want to frame this up a little differently. Rather than just completely jump in and just go at 100 miles an hour, I want to go back and kind of set a stage a little bit for people to can understand what is Harvest Harmonics, what are they about, what is Plant Boost Technology. We're going to get into all this. We're going to get into the weeds a little bit, obviously, and get in some depth. But take us back a little bit, because you touched on it in your bio a little bit as you came in. Back to 2015, as you mentioned, and you frame up how you got to the point in this conversation. And, like you said, you were sitting there and somebody brought this to your attention and you had that epiphany moment, like, I want all in. Can you kind of frame up a little bit about 2015 and kind of walk us to, hanging out with me this afternoon today and where you guys are at? And then we're going to dive deeper into the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I'll start with the story of how the company itself got founded. This was before I even joined, but Francesco Arlia, his mother, he's from New York. He's a forensic CPA, meaning he investigates financial crimes. And he also defends his clients against, tax audits from the IRS. So
sure.
And he's got, I think now he's up to 95, 96 and 0 record against the IRS. So he's basically undefeated against the IRS.
That's pretty cool to say.
Yeah, that's a pretty good. So anybody's got tax problems, you can call us for that too. And I'm sure his accounting firm will help with that. But no, he found this because his mother actually, at the time in 2014, actually had 3 congestive heart failures in a row, like one every month for 3 months in a row.
Wow.
And basically that means that the heart was basically filling up with fluid, and all the doctors here had given her maximum 3 months to live. And they all said, look, prepare your goodbyes and everything. There's nothing we can do for her. And of course, he said, well, I'm not going to settle for that. And being a good New Yorker, he said, fuck that. I'm not letting my mom die. So
yeah, right on.
He consulted everybody. He found Fulvio Baumelli, who's the inventor of the Kyminasi technology, and translated all of her medical records into Italian and sent it over to the clinic over in Italy. They said, we can help her, but you have to get her here fast. And so he basically loads up his mother, all the oxygen tanks and medical equipment and wheelchairs and everything you could imagine, onto a plane from New York and went to Italy, where this clinic is. And basically within 3 days, Fulvio Baumelli, they analyzed her and they said, we found out what's causing the heart problems. It's a virus in her heart. We can heal her. It's going to take 30 days. So over the next 30 days, he proceeds to, destroy the virus in her heart and basically bring her back to health. So she literally rolled in on a wheelchair with less than 3 months to live and walked out with just a walker and no medical equipment, no oxygen 30 days later.
Wow.
And so during that process, of course, Fulvio had gotten to know Frank, and Frank got to know him. And he says, you're an accountant in the middle of tax season. How are you able to come and stay in Italy for a month? And got to know each other and found out how, skilled he was as a businessman. Mm-hmm. And so, Fulvio, Mr. Baumelli said, look, I really would like you to launch this technology, help me get this technology out to the world, because it isn't well known. It isn't well understood yet. And, but it's something that has a potential to transform literally life as we know it. And in his eyes, in Fulvio's eyes, it was 2 things. It was improving agriculture, the quality of food, which will help improve human health, and then the quality of water, the water that we're drinking. Sure. So Frank basically took on the mantle and said, yeah, I'm going to get this agricultural product launched. And so he started just doing test trials. He contacted everybody he knew to find farms to do trials on. And our website has some of the earliest trials from 2015, 2016, where we were already, even back then, getting 20, 30% increases in yield even then. And, the technology kept improving and improving. And we went from 20 gallon a minute flow rates, which is like a garden hose, basically. That's what we had back then, all the way up to finally getting, 2,600 gallons a minute. Commercial agriculture could use it.
Well, you're on a booster pump now.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2019 at the end, the research and development was finished, and we said, okay, we're going to launch this product to any innovative farmers that want to use it to build real world case studies and real world results, not just laboratory results, but real world results. And then we also started getting some universities on board. We had 8 or 9 university trials scheduled for 2020. And then, like everything else, COVID hit, and it just shut down all the research.
I haven't heard of COVID. What is that?
What is that?
I haven't heard of that yet.
Something called COVID. Anyway, so so that literally almost shut down 2020. We did get probably about 60 or 70 farms on board in 2020, but really 2021 was really our launch year. And we have over 30 trials ongoing right now, with another 200 slated for the end of the year for university research to just prove and validate the tech. But we've got about 500 or 600 farms now around the world, and I think 25, 26 countries at this point,
Love it.
and more coming on board. So it's really been a rocket ride, and it's been great.
Hi, I'm Nate Hefty, Vice President of Sales at Superior Fresh, the nation's largest aquaponic farm located in central Wisconsin. Thank you for listening to Todd-versations and Todd-Bits. Check us out at www.superiorfresh.com to learn how we raise our Atlantic salmon on a non-GMO organic diet. And they thrive in water naturally filtered by our USDA certified organic leafy greens, never treated with hormones, antibiotics, or pesticides, and packed with 2 times the omega-3s. This is salmon as it should be. Shop with us online and use the discount code TLC 2022 to receive free shipping on all of our American Heart Association's Heart Health Checked Atlantic salmon. At Superior Fresh, we are changing how food is grown to change the world. Remember the code TLC 2022 to get free shipping.
Well, yeah, and that's awesome. Thank you. And I love the way we're framing this up, because people are like, well, what the hell is it? What the hell is it? Well, that's the whole purpose of the reason I'm doing this, because I'm trying to build. But, let's just break it down really quick, and just so people know, because I want to get a couple of these things out first before we really deep dive into this. What is Plant Booster Technology?
Okay, so Plant Booster Technology is basically a technology that allows the plant to keep its high level metabolism. Metabolism is a simple word, just means how we convert one form of energy to another, right?
Another, right.
For plants, we take the sunlight and the water, carbon dioxide, and raw materials, and we convert that into forms of sugar, right? Mm-hmm. And that's energy production for the plant. So, what our technology is doing, it's utilizing a very unique signaling system as opposed to a chemical input. It's using a signaling system to keep the metabolism of the plant at its highest, most optimum state, even in stress weather conditions or other stress situations, which would normally reduce photosynthetic activity. And we're basically able to keep that plant running at full speed through the course of a season, where in a normal situation, you might lose 30, 50, 80% of the energy that plant can normally produce. So we're really helping keeping that plant at its top level throughout the whole season.
So we're going to keep framing this thing up till we get on quote unquote the punchline at the end here. But you guys are pumping out 3,000 plus low frequency waves, right? So what is, just to give everybody this quick definition, because I know you're going to roll into it hard when we get started to talk about the big picture stuff, what's really going down. But what does natural frequency actually mean? Okay,
so every structure, I'll start back before even living things, right? Every structure has a natural frequency. And basically what that means is the molecules within any substance vibrate. Okay.
Right.
You look at a table, you look at something that looks like it's, even the microphone here, it looks like it's just a flat piece of metal or something, right?
Right.
But inside that, at the molecular level, it's actually vibrating at different frequencies. And every living thing has its own frequency. Human beings have a frequency. Fish have a frequency. Plants have a frequency, or actually a series of frequency. And the way I describe it is it's almost like an engine in a car. If you have 6-cylinder engine or an 8-cylinder engine, if those cylinders are timed correctly, if the engine's in tune, then it's going to generate a lot of power, because the one cylinder goes to the next, to the next, to the next, and it adds power, and it basically makes the engine go. But if those cylinders are mistimed or misaligned and they're not timed correctly, then that engine's going to use a lot of fuel, but it's not going to produce a lot of energy or a lot of power for the engine. And so really, one of the things that our plant booster technology is doing is helping to realign the natural processes in the plant or in a living thing back to where they should be and keep it at that optimum state going forward.
I love it. Okay. My last question before we get down to it: electrons, vibrations, right? Mm-hmm. Why do those matter? Let's get those out on the table.
Well, really, if you look at just a fertilizer, it operates the same way. The way that different chemicals come together, nitrogen conforms with oxygen, forms nitric oxide. ammonia is actually nitrogen and hydrogen together, right? And so the things that you're already using as a fertilizer on your crops to help the plants grow are actually governed by molecular and electron interaction between those substances, right? And so we're all familiar with how fertilizers work, and even sometimes pesticides work, and the chemical structure. However, underlying that chemical interaction, there's a physics interaction. In other words, the electrons and the molecules within those substances are interacting. And again, if those molecules are patterned in a very specific way, then it's going to allow those molecules to interact in a proper way. And in terms of a living thing, I'll just take the roots, for example. If the roots of a plant are keyed into a certain thing, it's going to absorb nutrients and water very efficiently. However,
Right.
if those roots are operating at a different frequency or a different pattern, then they won't be as efficient at absorbing those nutrients. And so the plant loses a lot of efficiency when stress factors like heat or cloudy weather or insect damage or funguses, all these different stress factors throw off those metabolic processes in the plant, and it reduces the plant's ability to generate energy.
Right on. I love it. I love ag technology. I just love it. I just love this conversation. I'm excited for the next question. All right, I'm going to give you a two-part question on this one. I'm going to let you roll because I'm excited for people to hear what this is. First question, tell us what Harvest Harmonics is, right? Let's get into that. And then I'm just going to throw it out there because I think you're going to roll right into it. Tell us how it works. Here we go, folks. Drum roll, the unveil. Here it is. Everybody's got the stuff in the back of their mind now because you're going forward with what this is. I can't wait. Lay it on it, brother. Lay it on me.
All right. So thanks. So Harvest Harmonics really is the company. We're the international distributor for the Kyminasi Plant Booster Technology. That's the actual name of the product. It's also the name of the technology, or what we call the algorithm, or series of instructions that make up our technology. So we as a company at Harvest Harmonics are responsible for distributing this around the world. So we do all the science trials. We work with different people in different countries and farmers and distributors, et cetera, to distribute and get this technology out and in use in the world. The Kyminasi Plant Booster Technology is biophysics applied to agriculture. The word biophysics just means we're applying the laws of physics to biological systems, in this case, plants. So what we really have done, what Mr. Baumelli did, is he spent 20 years researching plant physiology. And he was studying how the different biological processes in a plant operate. So, for example, when the roots are absorbing water and nutrients, they give off an electromagnetic signal, which his equipment can measure. And the same thing when the nutrients are transported through the stem to the leaves, though that process gives off an electromagnetic signal, which we've measured. When the sunlight hits the leaf and then recombines those different minerals of water, carbon dioxide, and different substances in the leaf, and breaks apart those chemical bonds, that gives off an electromagnetic signature. And same way, when the plant turns all of those raw materials back into glucose, or types of sugar for fruit and vegetable production, that gives off a signature. So over 20 years, Mr. Baumelli discovered over 3,000 unique frequency patterns associated with each of those biological functions. And about 300 or 400 of those actually have nothing to do with the plant. They actually have to do with the microbes in the soil. So the cyanobacteria, the mycorrhizae, the fungal network in the soil. There's 300 or 400 of those signals are directed at those organisms, not the plant, but they're part of the whole production cycle of a plant. So he isolated over 3,000 unique frequencies to basically cover all aspects of plant growth and plant health, from soil activity all the way through harvest and everything in between. So his next step was to program, small transmitters with radio waves that are set at those frequencies. He was able to prove over hundreds of experiments that by looking at healthy plants, and everything is working well, right? Those plants have a certain frequency signature, and each of those processes have their own frequencies. The same varieties of plants, though, when they're under stress, like heat stress or insect pressure, et cetera, those biological processes are altered, and the frequency patterns that come off of those processes are altered also. So his first major breakthrough, which happened about 10, 15 years ago, was if he can directly introduce the frequencies of healthy, productive plants to the same varieties of stressed plants, the stressed plants will recover their health without the addition of, any other water or nutrients or anything else. They just naturally recover because their metabolism is retuned the same way a tuning fork in music would work.
Right.
We're retuning those biological processes to their optimum state. So
Wow.
In a nutshell, over the 20, this research, by the way, is also ongoing beyond just what we've created. There's a lot of research that goes into these frequencies and how they affect various parts of plant health. But Mr. Bamelli put all this together over 20 years. And finally, in 2015 was the first prototypes that we came up with. He finally put it all together in an algorithm where everything is sequenced perfectly so that every time the farmer is irrigating his crops now with our technology, the frequencies that our technology is putting into the water essentially recalibrates or retunes the metabolism of the plant back to its ideal state. So it's almost like if you just keep your, if your metabolism goes down a little bit and you can bump it back up again, it goes down a little bit, comes back up again. And we're really making the plant a lot more resilient to stress factors in the environment, which would normally, as I said before, they would normally reduce the energy output of a plant by 50, maybe up to 80%,
So just to put it back, go back just a second, just to recap, we're talking about putting frequency, right? Vibrations, electron, all that in the water, eliminating chemicals and rehabilitating a plant through the water system with frequency.
Yep.
Come on. That is the coolest thing ever. I mean, so let's go back because it's going through the water system, right? You talked about earlier. You had started with the garden hose. Now you guys are on boosters. You're pumping, a lot of water past this. I've seen what this is. Like I got deep in the weeds on this, and you can tell I'm fired up about it because I just think it's freaking cool. Mm-hmm. So how does it actually work, through the water? I mean, as far as like, what do you have? What do you got to do? That kind of a process. Explain, folks, how. And I don't want to say this, and I say this is really simple. It for a farmer to use. I mean, this is not, that's the part about it I think is the coolest thing, because anytime you can get the word pesticide out of the equation, anytime you can talk about plant health, all these other things, the boxes you're checking, it's like, I'm leaning in hard, but then you make it easy for the farmer. Now I'm all in. So explain to it how that actually works through the farmer system.
Yeah, it's difficult to understand, but it's easy to use. That's the way. That's the nutshell. Yeah. It's so easy to use. Literally, it takes about 20 minutes to install one of these on an irrigation system, and all you do is water the crops. Our system literally does everything else. In terms of how it works, submarines have been using this for 50 years, by the way. So right. if people think that sound going through water is a weird concept, submarines have been using this for 50 years. They communicate to land bases and send radio waves through the ocean, and it works just fine. Dolphins and whales have been using this for thousands of years, and they can communicate up to 5 miles from one dolphin or one whale to another. So right. We've just been able to utilize those same physical laws of water and able to put a different signal into the water. In this case, we're putting a signal that's essentially, for lack of a better word, telling the plant, this is how you grow. This is how everything should be aligned so that your system's, you have not enough sunlight. Okay, this is how you absorb more sunlight. You have insects. Well, the plants have their own biochemical responses to insects anyway. So we're not a pesticide. We're not killing an insect. We're just making the plant healthy enough where the insects don't go to those fields. They go elsewhere because the plants have their own defenses, and the insects avoid those plants and they go to less healthy plants. So right. Bad for your neighbor, but great for you.
Well, yeah, no doubt. But and no power source needed. And just so folks know, we're talking about a little disc. We're talking about, I'm going to have you describe a little bit what it is and how we hook it onto the pipes. But this is, you can hold this in your hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about the size of a little computer chip. I forgot to bring mine, but it's about the size of a quarter, essentially. That's what the devices are. But obviously what's doing the work is the 3,000 plus frequencies that are embedded in that chip. Just like if you looked at a computer chip on an iPhone, they're probably like that big, right? But look at all the stuff that it can make an iPhone do. It works on the same principle. It doesn't have to be some giant, thing. It just has those particular signals in it that enable to do all the work.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. So the water passes by, fills it up with all the positivity the plant needs, shoots it out, and off to the races you go. So let's get into the weeds a little bit, because I keep saying get into the weeds. That's a farm joke, I guess. I don't know. I'm good. That shtick's I got to come up with a new line. It's getting old.
Believe it or not, we've seen farmers tell us that if they can just keep the weeds off the plants for the first week, that our technology, even though it increases photosynthesis, it actually reduces weed pressure. Believe it or not, that's just what the farmers are telling us. So
I love it. I believe it. So
we're not getting into the weeds; we're getting out of the weeds.
I'm digging that too. So let's talk about the problems that you're solving and how that kind of frames up, because you're increasing nutrition absorption, root density and growth. You can see it. I mean, if you go look on the website, you go on the trials and see what you guys are actually doing. It's pretty impressive. And then you've got this photosynthesis, you're supercharging it. So tell us a little bit about the problems you're solving. And to your point, you just talked about the weeds. Let's expand upon some of these things that you're seeing out there, because you've got all these trials going, and let's share some of those results. It's a big question I'm throwing at you, but I just want to let you run with it, because I'm just digging it.
Well, I think the easiest way to describe it, and maybe the way to properly frame it in your mind, is what are we traditionally doing? What are farmers and researchers and everything traditionally doing in agriculture, right? What I say is they're chasing problems, right? So let's say if you have insect problems on your farm, it doesn't matter if it's aphids or moths or whatever it is, right? You have an insect problem on your farm. So what do? They either use a pesticide, a chemical, or they develop some way to treat the plants or treat the field so that insect is either killed or avoids the field, whatever.
Right.
And so you solve that problem, right? And then you go, okay, well, now I have a problem with funguses, right? With this mold. Okay. So what do? I use a fungicide or some other method to control this mold. And now you look at, well, the plants don't have enough, the soil doesn't have enough nitrogen, right? So now I'm going to add a nitrogen fertilizer or a, NPK or whatever it is. So for the last 50 years, we've been chasing all these individual problems, but we're not looking at what is the core problem that's causing all of these other problems, right? What is the root cause of all of it? Because if you can handle the root cause, you don't need to chase all these other problems and try to solve each one individually. Right. And really that's where our technology really has come in. We looked at if we can make the plant super healthy and make sure that it's generating as much energy as possible, given the resources it has and the genetics that it has, obviously. Right. If we can make that plant super efficient at utilizing the resources it has to produce not only the maximum yield, which is what farmers are looking for, but also some of that energy goes back down into the soil and feeds the microbiology in the soil. And that helps to improve soil health. Some of that energy is going to obviously oxygen production, and sequestering carbon and that kind of stuff. So that's good for the environment. If the farmer doesn't have to use as much nitrogen, that's less nitrogen going off into the air as nitric oxide, which is a huge deadly greenhouse gas. That's 300 times more deadly as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. So we eliminate that problem. In other words, you just handle the core problem, which is how do we make the biology of the plant super efficient? And then the plant is going to take care of a lot of these other things by themselves. They have their own built-in insect resistance based on their biology. They have their own fungal resistance. They have their own disease resistance, just like we do. If you got COVID and you're healthy, you might get sick, but you're not going to die, probably. Right. And so it works the same way. If we just handle that core problem of making that plant as healthy as possible and as efficient as possible, then a lot of these other problems just go away. And again, directly to your question, we're seeing improved pest resistance, insect resistance, improved fungal resistance, improved disease resistance. We're seeing more production. We're seeing higher quality fruits and vegetables. And we're seeing better soil health, better water retention characteristics in the soil, and better microbial activity in the soil. And all these problems, all these things that we're assisting with really comes down to just treating that core cause, which is making the microbiology and the plant as healthy and efficient as possible. And then nature will take over and do its job. And we don't need all these extra solutions like chemicals and other things that we're using. A lot of that's truly unnecessary if we can just take care of the plants. And that's really what our system is doing.
Yeah, well, you're right. And, there's a lot of things when you think chemicals, pesticides, a lot of that's Band-Aid, right? It's not, you're trying to avoid surgery by throwing a Band-Aid on something, where you guys are above and beyond that. You're not even at the Band-Aid stage, right? You're starting this thing out. You're putting that plant on. It's almost as if you're coming alongside Mother Nature and saying, hey, we can make you grow whenever environment you're in. We can help you. One of the things that I want to touch on, I don't want to neglect, and I think that it is absolutely worthy of our conversation, is some of the results you're seeing with water, and being drought prone in some areas. Right, we got a big problem here in California. Right, it's going to come down the pipe. There is no rain. I'm happy if we see a cloud at this point in California. But talk a little bit about what you're seeing from water reduction and some of the positivities you're throwing into that.
Yeah, we're seeing some results. Some farmers, like in South America, where we first got started, because we were able to get into farms before COVID hit. So we already had established several trials down there. But what some of the farmers there are saying, they're using 60% less water than the previous year on their almond groves and their grapevines too. Another example, a grape plantation where the entire region had 30% less water available for irrigation, and every other farm in that region reduced their production from about 30 to 34 tons per hectare down to like 20 to 24 tons. Our treated field increased to 38 tons per hectare. So not only did we make the plants more efficient, we also increased their yield on top of what they were doing even before that, even with full irrigation. It was just a huge difference. And some of the ways that we're doing that is, again, as I mentioned before, we're helping the microbiology in the soil, and part of the root growth and the root structure is part of that. When you have compact soils, it'll have a tendency to sort of break apart that over time,
right,
and make it more permeable. If you have sandy soils, which would normally, with the water leaches
fast.
We've seen improvements in CEC of those types of soils where the cation ion exchange capacity, where the retention characteristics of sandy soils is improved. And we're still obviously doing research to find out exactly, the exact causes of that, to be perfectly honest. But
yeah,
these are just things we're seeing over and over and over again. So again, we think it's just, if you just handle those core problems, a lot of the ancillary problems in water usage would be another one. We're making those plants efficient at utilizing water. And we're helping with soil characteristics too, so that the soil can retain that water. It's not going to necessarily flood it if it got enough water, but it will definitely improve the characteristics of soil, so you shouldn't need as much water.
Unbelievable. I mean, this, like I said at the beginning, this is just incredibly cool, because you're talking about frequencies and vibrations and waves, and working side by side with Mother Nature, and you've got no bad stuff to talk about with it, which is like, I'm all down for. This truly is cutting edge technology. So, to kind of wrap up a little bit, what's next for you guys? I mean, obviously you're coming out of what we've all been dealing with for the last year, 2 years, whatever. And but I know you're picking up a lot of momentum. So what's next for you guys?
Well, we currently, obviously we're expanding our, into more and more countries and more farms. So from just a standard, market perspective, we're trying to get on as many farms as we can. And most farms will start off with, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want to try a small area of your field and see that it works on your farm the way it works everywhere else, absolutely, we work with you. If you want to jump in and take care of your whole farm or a big chunk, we're happy to work with you there. And everything that we sell has a 100% money back guarantee. So if you don't make more money with Kyminasi than the cost of our system, we will reimburse you the difference. So if you spend $1,000, you spend $1 million with us, and let's say you only make half of what you paid us in terms of extra yield or better quality, then we will reimburse you the other half, because our standpoint is, if we're really going to launch this product, if we're really going to help farmers, let's help farmers. And so we've taken away all the risk for farmers. And the worst thing you can possibly do with us is break even, which we haven't happened yet. No farmers asked for his money yet. So 600 farms in, we're doing pretty good.
Wow.
So that's our first thing, is obviously we want to get to as many farmers as possible and get this installed as many places as possible, just to continue to prove ourselves and continue to earn the farmers' trust, just by proving ourselves over and over again.
Absolutely.
The second key initiative we have ongoing right now, as I may have touched on, is we have a 1,000 scientific trial program where in the next 5 years, we want to have 1,000 university trials around the world that have tested and improved our technology with white papers and peer reviews and all that stuff. Obviously, as we mentioned, COVID kind of shut things down for a year. We're trying to make up for that. We really want this to be the most vetted, the most proven technology in agriculture. And we have a very special program that allows us to work with universities and farms around the world. And if you're farmers out there or people that are watching this are either universities or have connections with universities, we would love to work with you. And we have over 100 different trials we can run, or if you have your own specific things you want to test for, like I really want to test to see about the soil health and water retention. I really want to test, the photosynthesis and, whatever you want to test, we would absolutely love to work with you to prove this and to showcase those results.
I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. I dude, I'm a huge fan. I'm on board. You guys are one of the coolest companies you're going to find in 2022. And I'm not put that on. I don't say that about a lot of brands, but I'm saying it about yours. I think people are going to be blown away when they get up on the website. I think these farmers that are on the other end of this, this message that we're having right now are going to be blown away. I think the fact that you guys are standing behind this thing, unlike anybody else, and you're not peddling a pesticide, you're not peddling an herbicide, you're not, you're peddling something that Mother Nature created, and you just figured out how to talk back, right? That's pretty impressive, dude. That is pretty impressive, I have to admit.
Well, so somebody once told me, this is years ago, probably like 20 years ago that I heard this, but somebody once told me, I think he was a physicist, but he said physics is the language of God. In other words, it's kind of like his attitude was, the laws of physics and how we figure stuff out is really just measuring and documenting what already exists in nature. So yeah, when I found out about this, when I realized that really what we've done is just tap into what nature's already doing. We're not really inventing anything. We just discovered what nature's already doing, and we're sort of mimicking what nature is doing and just sort of adding, adding that refinement just so that nature can do what it does best. And so far we've been doing great. It's been great. Man,
God, this is great. Hey, look, first of all, I want you to come back later in the year. I want an update. I want to see what's going on. For sure. Mm-hmm. We definitely want you to come back on, because I'm such a fan of this. I'm almost speechless in some of it, because it checks so many positive boxes that we need to be talking about in our food sector, right? Again, I look at these things, and one of the big things I lean into, and you guys epitomize this, is what I call the positive cost of food. Investing in ideas and technology and things that are going to make a difference, right? That we've got to invest in, whether it's greenhouses, packaging, transportation, and something just like this, where we have something that can make such a measurable difference. And I mean, what I'm fascinated by, and I can't wait, and I want to talk about it later this year as you guys, kind of come out of this COVID cycle and you guys get, your wings fully flapping again, is how much pesticides are we leaving on the table? How much stuff are we not having to put on our fields anymore? Because that's a conversation that I think the world wants to hear in a big way. If we can start to eliminate, some of the things that we're doing out there and start making positive climatic changes like you all are doing, man, that is a win for everybody in the planet. So kudos, brother. Kudos. I'm just pumped for you guys.
Everybody except the pesticide salesman. And if you guys are pesticide salesmen and you're afraid that we're going to cut you out of business, come work for me and I'll give you a better product to sell, and you probably make more money anyway. So,
well, at that point, brother, that's a drop of Sharpie right there, brother. And on that note, thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out, man. I really appreciate you. I appreciate this message. I can't wait for people to hear it and see it. You've got our support 110%. I love what you guys are about. I can't wait to hang out with you face to face and spend some time talking more about this. And I look forward to people getting this message. So I really appreciate you being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, you're coming back. You already said so I'm holding it to you. Everybody, thanks for hanging out with us this week, man. I appreciate it. I hope this, I talk about things that inspire me, and I talk about giving inspiration every day. If these folks at Harvest Harmonics don't inspire you to pick up get on the Google machine, do a little typing and dive a little deeper, I don't know what to do for you. I really don't. This is cool. I love it. We support it. I think, again, this is one of the coolest brands you're going to find in 2022. Dive into it. Check it out, what they're doing. It's worthy of your time and effort. Thanks for being here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, check us out on social media. We're hanging out with all the cool kids. You know the routine. And Jim's coming back. And stay tuned for everything else we have. Thanks for being here. Be good. Take care. And we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys.